Hello, and you are very welcome along to the Unpopular Opinion podcast. My name is Jen.
I'm Carla.
And you're in for a treat this week because we have another guest.
Yeah.
In addition to last week's guest. And this week we are joined by Luke.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
So do you want to do the intro here, Carla? Because I feel like I wouldn't do it enough justice. Sorry, go for it there.
So I first started following you. Well, your brand. Sorry, it was your brand because of your packaging.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. So you have a startup beauty brand called Lukey Beauty.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cute. It's baby blue. And it's just like the little paint. I'm so obsessed with it. It was so funny because I was showing like my friends last night and they're like, it's like adorable. But so you are a small Irish business owner who operates out of 2 different countries.
Yeah.
But also has been featured in Vogue, had some amazing like products used in shoots. Just out of not out of nowhere, obviously, out of a lot of hard work. But we just want to chat to you a little bit about that. So introduce yourself or anything. I just kind of gave you a top line, so if you want to just introduce yourself, anything else you want to let our listeners know before we get started?
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Luke, and I started my business. I always wanted to have my own business, and it's something I always kind of wanted to do. But I never knew exactly what kind of niche I wanted to do or what exact area of the industry I wanted to be in. My whole past is in hairdressing, and I was a stylist for close to about 9 years.
Wow.
And then I actually worked as a teacher in a college as a hairdresser for 3 years.
Okay.
And I really loved hairdressing and I love the industry, but I always just felt like it didn't match me perfectly.
Yeah.
I always said I'm really passionate about my career and I'm really passionate about beauty.
Yeah.
But was I passionate about going into a salon and doing hair all day, every day? I wasn't really.
Yeah.
I always kind of knew I wanted my own business.
Yeah.
But then your natural kind of train of thought then is, I should have a salon. And I never wanted a hair salon.
Yeah.
I just knew I didn't. I wanted my own brand and I could never think of what I wanted to do. And then I did a master's in fashion in Madrid. And then I went into lockdown. I moved to Madrid and then we went straight into lockdown after about 3 months. I did my master's from home. And I was really lucky. I had a teacher that worked in Spanish Vogue and loads of my teachers were like photographers and videographers and they kind of opened my mind to the bigger kind of spectrum of beauty.
Yeah.
Because when I did that course, I thought I wanted to move into fashion.
Yeah.
And every single time that I did any kind of project, all my teachers were like, you keep going back to beauty. And I was really insulted. I want to do fashion. And they were like, and then in the end I was like, I really think I do belong in beauty. Because whenever we had a project, I'd always lean towards the beauty stuff.
Yeah.
So I got an internship writing beauty articles for an online magazine. And then I just started doing that. And that's when I stopped thinking of just hair. And I thought of everything in beauty. Because it's all the same. It's all color, fashion, style. Like when I used to teach hairdressing, you're teaching color theory. That's the kind of the foundation of all hairdressing. And it's the same with makeup and it's the same with fashion. It's all just color and what works and what doesn't work. So then I got the idea of what I wanted to do and it was like a light bulb moment. I could see everything. I knew baby blue is my favorite color, so I knew exactly what I wanted to look like. I could see it in my head. And I could just see it really clearly. So then it was just obviously, like you're saying, trying to figure out how to start a business.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying, but there's no easy way. It's literally sitting in front of your laptop and Googling, how do you start a business?
Oh my God.
And
like allergic.
And then it's I think when you are starting a business, you do it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I have to register a business. Then I have to look at insurance. Then I have to see, it's so small that in the end, when you look back, it's oh God. If I knew it was that much, would I do it again? I definitely would, but it is a lot to set it up. But the hardest part for me was actually finding a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because I had things that I wanted. I wanted it to be vegan, cruelty free and made in Europe because the quality is just always a lot higher when it's made within Europe. And your ingredients and all the compliance things are a lot more strict in Europe. So it's always the best quality it can be. So all that obviously costs a lot. So I knew that my first launch would be quite small. And I knew that I could launch more products if I got them manufactured elsewhere and the packaging wasn't as nice. But I was I have to just... I knew that I had to have such pride in the product that I'm just in love with it. And I really am. I absolutely I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the starting point for me, it took me probably about a year and a half to find the right manufacturer.
Yeah.
Some of them, they all work differently. So some of them have like a catalogue of products, and you just choose the colours you want. Whereas I wanted to create my own colours.
So is it sorry, I'm just going to explain
Yeah.
a little bit more about that process. So it's something that I think has gone big on like TikTok at the moment as well. Everyone's talking about not just like beauty or, you know, brands coming out with makeup. They're now getting really into like trend led and also where these products are being made from. So like the two kind of bigger ones for formulations is in Europe, Italy has the best kind of, is supposed to be known for like the best colour formulations, and Korea, because Korea are always coming up with tech. So like they've got crazy new tech. But what I thought was really interesting about this as a whole is that like celebrity makeup lines have kind of, you know, they came from back in the day where like Jessica Simpson was doing like dessert beauty for Do you remember the campaign was just her like dipping her fingers in cream and licking them off, and
then she felt really sick by the end of it because she had eaten so much of the whipped cream.
And she was like, I don't think I could do this anymore. They were like, we need more shots for you, Jessica. But like, and that was so just, here's a line, we're going to give you X amount of the profits, and away you go. And it could be shite. Do you get me?
Your face just gets put on. Like,
versus say what's happened with like Lady Gaga and House Labs, which was started off as kind of like, I never really understood why she did House Labs, because like I don't think, and this is my own opinion, people could be, I don't think Lady Gaga's known for makeup. I think she's known for her and like her style, and I think if she had clothing line I'd probably understand a little bit more, but I'm like, you're not known for like your makeup. And like her makeup artist Sarah Tana is she wouldn't be a fave of mine, but she's also not really known for, she just does like her and Lady Gaga just do everything together, so therefore she's just
her makeup artist.
She's just her makeup artist, but you wouldn't be like, oh, I need to go for her. She's a trendsetter. She's really gonna like teach us loads about beauty or whatever. So she did House Labs, or sorry, did she do House Beauty first and then it turned to House Labs?
I think it turned to House Labs.
House Labs. So House Beauty was like completely different. It was a colour focused line, and it was kind of like cheaper, and it just seemed to be like mass produced and whatever. Then it was like sold on Amazon, sold in Target. It was kind of sold in lots of like very big commercial spots. Yeah. And then that flipped to her doing House Labs, which is now completely different. She's gone really in, like, she has like some of the best tech ever in beauty. She's this like triclone formulation in her foundations. She's really put a ton of time and effort into making this a really interesting and cool kind of beauty brand. On the flip side, you have someone like Selena Gomez, who I don't think should have had any skin in the beauty game, because again, not a girl that's known for like makeup or beauty, or like is a beautiful girl obviously, but she wouldn't be the person that you think of and you're like, yeah, I really want a cool makeup look, I'm going to go on her page. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm going to emulate her style. And now Rare Beauty is just like, because again, she put really, really good and a time and effort into finding the right manufacturer, the right packaging, and her whole thing is nothing's more than $30. Like, that's her whole mission. Is like, no matter what it is, if it's a foundation, a concealer, all the way down to her colour line, which is generally a little bit cheaper, nothing is more expensive than $30. So it's accessible, but it's still like Sephora, it's still like premium, it's everywhere. It's just like, I just find it so mad. Huge. Like, versus where we were with like Jessica Simpson's beauty line and the Kardashians' famous Chroma. Loved it. I actually had some of that stuff, but like, it's very different now, and I feel like there's such a misunderstanding, and I don't know how you feel about this, and I don't know how involved you were, but there was, obviously we had like Bloggers Unveiled, who then started like finding out that people were cataloguing, bulk buying makeup from like Alibaba or China, and kind of cheap, quick Chinese cosmetics. Although a lot of Irish brands still do that. I think they do it a lot more in a clever way, shall we say. To where people are like, now on TikTok, it's a real trend where they're starting to like understand makeup and where it comes from and the tech behind it and what's good. Like, you know, Canada's good for a certain thing, Italy's good for another thing. So I just find it mad how it's like that big difference. Do you find like that, do you find information, because even back in the day, if you typed in how to start a beauty brand, I feel like it would just be like Alibaba immediately. It would be like cataloguing, like, you know, Morphe and all that other kind of stuff, and people thought that was like the height of sophistication for a while. Obviously Morphe made a huge international brand doing that. Now, not so much. They've had a little bit of, you know, issues, but I find it like where we were, say maybe even 5 years ago versus where we are now, to you having to start finding like manufacturers? Like, how do you start that process? How do you even get in? Like, other than obviously Google, but like, how do you even decide on those things?
Well, I definitely think you're right. I think I think with people like Selena Gomez, for me, I think what's really amazing about brands like that is like Jessica Simpson's brand was always just her.
Yeah.
So like anyone buying it is going to be a fan of her.
Yeah.
Whereas say like Selena Gomez, like, I wouldn't really know Selena Gomez outside of Rare Beauty. So to me, I would just think of the brand. I wouldn't even think of her necessarily straight away when I think of it. And it's almost the same with House Labs now. Obviously, it's Lady Gaga's brand, but I think like she is a different fan base to the people that might buy her music, and her makeup could be totally different people, different age brackets and stuff like that. And I think that's down to just having really good makeup. Maybe people like that don't know Lady Gaga or don't like her very much.
Yeah.
If the makeup's great, then
they don't identify that it's not like one and the same. Yeah. That's like it's like strong brand identity, but also I think you're right. It's like that marketing machine that back in the day, I feel like the early 2000s, that's all anyone did. Do you remember Skechers and all their lines?
Yeah, and Christina Aguilera was the like
your fave.
She's my fave as well. I love Christina. Yeah, and she did all the. I actually went into a shoe shop back when she was the face of Skechers.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know, I was like 12 or 13, and I got like the big life size cut out of her in my bedroom.
Jen would have had that in her room and like, love you.
Absolutely stripped, absolutely narrated my fucking teenage years. She would piss all over anybody.
Did you see when she came to Dublin? I saw her in the Point Depot for the strip tour.
Oh, I've never seen her live, and
she's
I'm
really
fucking raging. I love her.
And the Black Eyed Peas supporter, it was like they just
Black
had come
Eyed
out.
Peas supported her. Yeah. Isn't that mad?
It's so funny when you look back at the history of who supported who back in the day, because they're so big now. It's like they used to be a support act.
Yeah, you're like, what? Like, because they would have been like that. Actually, probably would have just been the cusp of like them becoming huge.
Whereas The Love just came out, so like they were big, but it was everyone I think thought they were like a one-hit wonder.
That's like 2003 era kind of. I love. Yeah,
what a time to be alive.
I know,
but like, isn't it so different and funny? As I said, like the information, how quickly like things have kind of ran on from there. I feel like starting a beauty business back in the day was just like, you weren't doing it unless you had a lethal amount of investment, or somebody was essentially a figurehead and just plopping you into it.
Exactly.
It was just mad.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's kind of more accessible now though, or kind of, I don't want to say saturated because that has like a negative connotation, but it's obviously more popular now to be just like, yeah, grand, I'm going to start my own brand. Whereas before it was kind of like only the big boys.
If you had serious quid, like you need a lot of investment, a lot of money put into it, like
It's really hard because you'd often even see people on TikTok or like really popular influencers start a brand, but then you look at their brand and it's like, well, if you've like 5 million followers, how is your brand not doing well?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that always just comes down to, it doesn't matter who you are, or it doesn't matter any of that long term. It just comes down to, is your product really good?
Is your product really good, and is it like marketable enough? Do you know? Yeah. I've seen some amazing, like I find it funny when you look back to like all the staples of like makeup, the things that, you know, back at RCMA, you know, all of the kind of French brands that were even Makeup Forever to a point, and they're just very kind of like, that's it, bog standard packaging. The quality's unbelievable. They kind of had a resurgence around 2016 when people realised that there was like some really good quality stuff there. But like even still, they're just kind of ticking over, only really known by professionals. Now you have this kind of, what I find is really good, but also I'd love to know your thoughts as well, because I find it difficult. Obviously, as a makeup artist and somebody who has a background in makeup, there's a lot of products that are just too advanced for commercial use.
Yeah.
And then they get a really bad rep, and you're like, but you're not fucking using it correctly, and that's the issue. So it's like, you can't come and say it's doing X, Y, and Z when it's like, it's a professional product that just so happened to get hype because you saw someone who was a professional, an ex-Mac makeup girl, or you know, one of those kind of like, I feel like ex-Mac girls are everywhere, especially on American TikTok, and they're amazing. Yeah. Because I feel like the quality of Mac artists in America was just like through, like in Ireland and the UK at one point, anybody could go into Mac and get a job, like toward the end. Yeah. Not like back in the glory days, like 2008, 2009, that kind of way. Like toward the like 2017, 2018 when it started becoming less relevant. Versus the American girls, I just think like they're like, well, from what I've always seen, I'm like, wow, they were like trend setters. They kept a really high standard over there. But like, I feel like it's really hard to get a product that is not only very good quality, packaged really well, branded, really strong brand identity, but then also has that kind of like takeoff where people will understand it and understand how to use it.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah, I really get that, because I found that huge in hairdressing, that even hairdressers are like, I hate that shampoo, it makes your hair greasy. And it's like, well, it's from like the biggest hair brand in the world, so they're not going to release like a greasy shampoo. So maybe like you're using it wrong, or maybe it's on the wrong person, or maybe you're putting too much of it in the hair. Yeah. So I think from teaching that really taught me that education is important, and that people, you have to take it that people know zero. They don't know how to open the bottle. Like they don't. You see, we're so used to it because we're around it all the time. Yeah. That other people don't have a clue. And if you assume people know any level of how to use it, there's just more room for error. So I think it has to be really clear if it's an easy to use product, and if it is, like you said, more of a professional product, people do need to know that it is good, but it might not, maybe you can't use it correctly, or it's not right for your skin type or your client's skin type, or like I think there definitely is a big difference in my mind of professional products and like consumer products.
And I find it really interesting because obviously you have now like this celebrity makeup artist, celebrity hair artist that's kind of becoming like a bigger, like it's like they're becoming more accessible, they're showing tips and tricks, and there's a lot of frustration. And I think that's it as well. Like, there's a lot of frustration in beauty. I actually did a podcast kind of similar to this. It was more about trends with one of my friends, Fanula. We were talking about like beauty trends like latte girl makeup and strawberry girl makeup. That's out in flop culture soon, by the way, guys. I'll tell you that. There's a little plug for her. But we were talking about like trends and how they happen and what's going on and all that other kind of stuff. But what we were saying is that there's a knowledge gap, but a frustration, I feel like, in consumers sometimes, where they like buy a foundation, put it on, they're like, it's not working, it's shite, in the bin. And it's such like a fast kind of such a fast paced consumer layout nowadays, instead of like taking the time to really understand products. Because like back in the day, you were like, no, I've seen 1,000 people use this now. There's a skill set here I need to like learn and develop, versus just like on to the next one. It's like there's always something new to buy. And I think with hair, what's funny as well, because when you said that about there's being a makeup artist and all that, like being a hairdresser and all of that, but then when you have to go into education, you completely unlearn everything, like really bad habits basically. And you have to like relearn how you're doing everything and how you're speaking to people. And that's where the difference is. It's like, and that's probably why you have such a strong brand identity, because you're like, I know from the bottom up, I'm going to have to literally teach them everything, versus again, having that frustration of somebody buying something, not really knowing how to use it. I find hair is really like that, because I'm shite at hair.
Oh,
but God. I'm just giving I'm giving it a go. I'm here, I'm giving it a go.
Different opinions from like trichologists to professional like hair educators and stuff like that. And it's like, the sulfate's good for your hair. Are they not? Are they?
I thought silicones were bad. You're like, I
thought silicone was shit for your hair, but apparently it's good. And like, all this sort of stuff. It's just a minefield.
Ingredient wars, and it's like MSG back in the days when we all heard MSG was like, MSG is just like for umami taste. Like that's all MSG does. That's it. Like it just adds that kind of like depth to your meal. And everybody was like, MSG makes you sick, and that's why you're sick after a Chinese. No, you're sick after a Chinese because of volume and the amount of salt.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, dehydrating your body.
You didn't chew it properly.
Exactly. You inhaled it.
You swallowed the chicken ball whole.
I thought that like one of the hardest things is like so many brands educate, like, so if you're teaching for one brand, you're not, obviously you're being yourself, but you're doing what you're told from them. And then sometimes other brands will have different guidelines, or you might be teaching for like, say, one brand. So you might be teaching for like L'Oreal, but they have one line of products that are like ammonia free and one aren't. And the ammonia free one will talk about how bad ammonia is, but then you have to go and also so you're like, anyway, so forget what I said about the ammonia free. So we're going to talk about ammonia products now. It has the ammonia.
And I suppose a good bit of like capitalism and consumerism comes into that as well. Like they are trying to market something at the end of the day. So like something that's sulfate free, they're going to talk about how shit sulfates are, but then you're going to have a hair educator who's like, no, actually a certain amount of them, you kind of need them.
But it's about that learn and unlearn, like how hard it is to get people to unlearn things. Like silicones, I haven't a clue if they're good or bad anymore. I know, but I remember silicones in makeup was a real kind of like, silicone's fine in makeup, absolutely fine. It's one of the best things because it gives you the smoothest finish. It doesn't absorb into your pores. It's not like people were going around being like, it's like petrol. It just absorbs right in there.
Acid on your skin.
Yeah, it's acid.
Might as well be walking around with a pylon in your back.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, no, it actually creates another like cushiony layer so that things don't sink in and that pollution doesn't sink in. It sits on the top. Like that's the whole point. Or like then there was this thing of like skincare ingredients in makeup, but then making sure that it doesn't sink into the skin. Oh my God. Like there's such a landscape out there. And all it takes is like one or two people going viral saying one or two things negatively to make or break your brand, your product, your anything. Do you get me? And it's so like K18 in particular. I got K18, hadn't a breeze how to use it. I was like, this is shite. What's going on? Until somebody left a message on my TikTok being like, you know that you have to work it into a paste. And I literally DM'd her immediately being like, what do you mean? She was like, keep working it. Keep working it until it turns into like a white paint. Then you apply it. And I was like, me there like, this is shy.
Yeah.
In the
you
bin.
just didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, just all from one person. Like, that's why I kind of like social media though as well. People are like, you're using that wrong. And I'm like, oh.
But that's why it's nice, I think, following. Like, there's certain YouTube channels I would follow for like inspiration for my brand on like upcoming products and trends and stuff. And I think it's good when someone's like, oh, I don't like that. And then the next video they might come on and say, well, someone actually left a comment and told me that like I'm using it backwards or whatever. And then they use it again and it's like a learning experience, because that's what happens in real life, and I think that's fine as well.
Yeah.
But like what I do hate is like what you said, when people like just shit all over a product. Yeah. Like, I don't know what they're called. Did you see like the like glossy MAC lipsticks everyone's using on TikTok?
Sorry. Oh my God.
Did you see that?
No.
So it's like a lip gloss.
They're called lip squirts, and everybody was like, "Bleh," and I know everybody was like, "Bleh," but I was like, that's part of the marketing, you know? Yeah.
But like, you're meant to put it up like a tiny bit and like pat it on your lip. But everyone's putting it up like halfway because it's like, it's really soft, and then like putting on their lip and it breaks off. And
they're like, these are shite the way that they're made, but also the way that they made them is they made them in like it's like color theory, so they made them in certain ways, and like the amount of people coming on being like, no, people are buying this wrong. They were like buying the green one, but like they're all to do to neutralize things. So like the blue one, you put on, if your lip, do you ever put on a lip and you're like, that's a bit warm now? You're like, it's a bit orange on.
A bit orangey looking.
Yeah. So you bang on the blue one and it neutralizes it. So it gives it like a gloss and a plumping finish, but also neutralizes that color. So it essentially like doubles every lip you have, because if you're like, say, wearing tan, you want something a bit warmer, like a really nice warm neutral nude, you'd wear it. Or like, say, you'd wear something like Makeup by Mario Suede or something like that. And then if you're like a little bit less pale, or if you're going for a grungier eye makeup look or anything, it just diversifies the product. It looks like you're wearing a totally different lipstick.
Right.
So it's really like, it's cool and it's interesting and it's different. But the issue is, and I think that's where it's like influencer marketing isn't the best, because they send PR boxes out to people that are known for makeup but not like makeup artists. Like your one Meredith Dubras, whatever. Oh my God, you know your one with the foundation.
Yeah,
she pumps foundation.
Like 20 pumps.
Like she's like one of the. I
tagged you in it, and I was like, please do this.
I was like, I couldn't do it to myself. I would want to die.
For anybody who doesn't really know, she puts foundation on with her hands basically, but she uses like
50
the
pumps.
most amount of foundation you've ever seen. But by the end of it, she looks unreal, and I'm like, is she trolling us? Is she actually taking half of this off camera?
I don't know. I've heard such conflicting stories. I've heard people be like, in person she looks unbelievable. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, again, look, she got very famous for doing that.
She's so
very
young
famous.
to be wearing so much makeup though. Like,
and I'd love to just see in real life.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even like if you wear a bit of BB cream, you look nice, but then in real life it's like, oh, cake.
Yeah. Because like Mario did her makeup and did it on half a pump, and she was literally like, oh my God, I'm gonna die here. And he made her look beautiful. Like she looked incredible, but I could tell she was so uncomfy the whole time. She was like, ugh.
And she's stunning anyway with no makeup.
And she's beautiful. She's like a model. But again, not a makeup artist, just somebody who has a technique and kind of went viral for that one or two. Same with Michaela. Like Michaela got big because she understood how to use NARS Soft Matte Concealer. Nobody else was using pretty much correctly, and she was using it for like acne coverage. She was showing people how she covers up her acne. She went absolutely viral. She's very good at doing her own makeup, but she's very good at doing her own makeup in her own style. Yeah. But like, again, she's not a professional makeup artist. Like she's like, I think she worked in Ulta maybe for a while or something along those lines. But like, when you're sending people like that these PR boxes and they're getting it and they're just going immediately, new lipstick, bang.
And they're not reading
they're not thinking about it.
The signs behind it, or like the whole point.
Wanting to understand the product. Now, that's not every beauty influencer. No. But it's a lot of people, I suppose, as well. And I'd say that's really frustrating as a brand owner, because you're like, I want people to get this and understand it. Like, it's an indie brand. But tell us a little bit more. So you launched with a colour line first.
Yeah, so that was a big thing. I was like, what will I have my first product be? And so there's a reason behind what I chose. Two main reasons. So like the more kind of business reason is I just think blush was quite it's timeless, but it's also trendy. Like it's more popular now. I think like when my friends were in their like early 20s and teens, no one would have wore blush back then.
It was a real L1 thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Whereas it's after becoming kind of more, everyone wears it now. And then I also thought blush is a nice standalone product. So I was like, if I have lipstick, you need lots of shades to kind of tick every box. Whereas blush, you can get away with, I think, having less. You don't need to have like 20 shades of blush.
Yes.
If you have 4, someone will probably relate to one of them.
Yeah.
Whereas like lipstick, you could have 20 shades of red and you still don't have enough.
Yeah.
And then also like if you get into lips, it's like, but then you need lipstick and lip gloss and lip liners. So that's why I thought that's a good product. And then also I was just thinking kind of like personally what would be a good one. And growing up my whole life, I just have rosy cheeks and I would blush really easily. Like if I was out in the cold and just came inside, I would just like flush really easy. And I was always really self-conscious about that when I was much younger, like in my late teens, early 20s. And it's just kind of taking kind of control of your insecurities and kind of celebrating them in a way. So I just thought that was a nice reason as well to have blush as my first product. And then initially I had 3 shades and then I delayed the launch because I wanted to have 4 because I had in my head what I wanted. So I wanted like a pinky corally shade. I wanted a true pink. I wanted a berry shade. And then I said for the 4th one, I can pick something kind of a bit different.
Yeah,
and I have like a shimmery kind of, it's almost like a freckly kind of a colour. So I launched with the 4 of those. And again, it was in lockdown. So all the samples, so the way it works, they send me the 4 shades that I
So where did you go for Italy from Italy?
So I never went. I was in lockdown, so I was just back and forth.
Yeah.
So the way my lab works is they'll colour match anything for you. So if I sent them like, I don't know, a nail polish and said, can you make this into a lipstick? They can do that. So I created 4 colours. I made them myself and sent them to them. And then they basically send them back and forth to me. So I can say, that's perfect, but can you make it a bit more shimmery, a bit more matte? Can you put a bit more pink in it? Can you make it paler, darker, whatever? And that was the longest part because it had to work on every skin tone. And it's really easy on my skin because everything looks nice on pale skin, whereas on darker skin it can look very chalky. So I had to kind of trial and error a lot with friends and family and stuff to make sure that they worked on every skin tone. Because that was really important because I don't, like, we've gone past being inclusive and thinking of other people than yourself. It's not a brag anymore.
It's a done thing. It's a done thing.
It shouldn't be celebrated that like, you know, oh, we cut textured hair or this works on, like, no, it has to just, if you can't, and it's harder for indie brands because we don't have the money that larger brands have to have something for everyone. It is harder to cater to every single person when you only have 4 products. But it needs it's I just think it's gone past the point of like a discussion and well done, you're so inclusive. Like, no, everyone should be. It's not a brag. It's like being cruelty free. Like, that's not a brag anymore. And people still talk about it a lot, but it's illegal not to be cruelty free if your brand is in Europe.
I know.
So every brand made in Europe is cruelty free. And again, it's not like it shouldn't be a brag anymore. It should just be the standard of everyone. I think.
I think it's because we've all grown up in such a weird generation where like nothing was ethical when we were younger. And now
nothing was ethical. It's mad when you think back.
At all, nothing was ethical. So now we've kind of switched and reversed it into this whole thing. So like it's such a big deal, isn't it? But like it's like that. It's like the bar's not on the floor anymore. Like, come on.
I think
you need to.
It's really interesting because I think millennials are kids of consumerism, aren't we? It's just like all we want is just more all of the time. Like, it was like, how cheap can you get it? How fast can you get it? Like, how much of it can you get? Versus I think Gen Z are a lot more like
quality over quantity.
They're really into health-led beauty, you know, like things that are actually they feel like will fill a niche in their life or feel like some kind of interesting kind of hole or have a backstory. Like, they love a backstory. Do you get me? They love a bit of that. So I feel like all those brands who got really popular in like 2015, 2016, where it was just like colour lines after colour lines and push and push and push, have now fallen to the wayside, and they're really allowing like indie brands kind of come through and really kind of gather I suppose, that following and kind of bring it through. What do you feel like was your biggest challenge trying to get it off the ground?
Having enough money to do it, like that, because that's the thing with beauty is your minimum orders are, no matter where you go, they're always going to be huge.
Yeah.
Your minimum orders for your packaging is different to each color of your product, to the cardboard box it comes in. So you have minimum orders for everything because they all come from different factories. And I suppose if you're going, like, if your business you want to do is like making like homemade lip gloss or something like that, obviously that's different. But if you're manufacturing something in beauty, there's no way of getting around that. You just have to save up a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you need money to launch it. You need money to kind of sustain yourself while you're trying to launch it.
Live.
And then everything is so expensive. You know, sending PR to people is expensive. When you have a new product, it's also a photo shoot. That's a load of models, hair, makeup.
Yeah.
I'd hire an assistant light person for the day to fix all the lights, a photographer, a studio. So like it's a lot.
just quite a
There's no real cheap way to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest thing, in the sense of like it's the hardest thing to get, but it's also the easiest thing in the sense of like you don't need any skill to just like
organize that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're saving and saving and saving, the main thing with the business is, for me anyway, I didn't have to think about it very much. I wasn't like, oh, will it do well? And should I do that? Everything I thought of was like, yeah, no, I want it to look like that. I want it to be that color. I want these four. I didn't really ask people's opinions very much because I just knew in my head, I just want it to be like that.
Yeah.
And when people said to me like, oh, blue is kind of weird, you know, and I was like, well, okay, I'll make it rose gold and pink because there's none of that out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to be able to stand behind it because I couldn't lie and pretend I loved it if I didn't. So it had to be something that like I just love. And to me, like even the packaging itself, like I love it out in my house. I love the way it looks. I think I just love it.
Yeah.
And I'm really confident about it. And there's other stuff in life, you'll always be doubting yourself, and I'm hard on myself and, you know, comparing yourself to others. But with my business, I never do. It's the only thing I never do.
That's great. I love that you stay true to yourself as well. That like it's a great quality to have, to kind of like, because there are people who go through the absolute ringer doing what you did, like, you know, doubting themselves, getting all
changing
opinions,
things, trying to become more marketable, and then
Yeah.
they're never really happy. So then they don't feel as confident, like in the product or in themselves if it doesn't perform, or, you know, no matter, as you said, no matter what way it performs, you know that it's absolutely you. It's absolutely what you wanted to do, and it's like, that's just very,
whatever way it goes, it doesn't matter. I loved it.
Yeah, like it's like if you're insecure about something, if someone says it, you're like so upset.
Yeah.
Like if you don't feel nice one day the way you're dressed and someone made a comment or something, it would upset you. Whereas I'm just not insecure about my business.
Yeah.
Whereas other stuff, if someone said, I could be distraught.
Yeah.
But if it's my business, I'm like, I don't care. If someone said, oh my God, I hate it, I'll be like, well, fuck you then, I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I really,
cool. Bye. Yeah.
like I don't care at all, because like I know the product's great and I'm happy with how it looks.
Yeah.
And no one else, well, obviously other people do have to be happy with how it looks because I need to sell it. But I do think once you have a clear vision and you know who you want to get your products, it's just about trying to get it in front of the right people.
Yeah.
So the right people see it and then they'll love it as much as you do.
So speaking of that, tell us now, so you launched the brand when?
I launched in September last year.
Yeah. And how was that, like, how did you launch it, or what was your plans to launch, and what was kind of like, what was your go and get?
So there's so much to do that I knew at the start I have to have a real clear headspace to start something new. And I was like, okay, I'm not starting like paid advertising on Facebook and stuff because I'm not in the headspace right now to like learn how to do that.
Figure out performance marketing. Yeah, you're like
like there's another day for that. I was like, no. So yeah, like you do have a thing in your head. I was like, the second it goes online, you know what I mean? You think you're going to explode because you put so much hard work into it, but no one else, like I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I told like my parents knew, my brother, and then maybe 2 friends.
Yeah.
So I did it all very quiet, and my boyfriend. So yeah, I got all my stock and then I was dying to launch, but I had to do all my like photo shoots and everything. So once that was done, I literally just posted it on my personal Instagram link, like making my professional page. When you
Like a business account kind
no,
of
like
thing.
when you post, but there's like 2 people on it. Like my business page.
Collab. A collaboration post. Yeah.
So I put my business page, and then like obviously my friends and stuff followed it, and then I literally just looked. I just looked up hashtags. I looked at other Irish influencers I know, went through their friends list and found probably like 20 influencers I thought represented my brand really well.
Yeah.
And then I just sent them the products.
Yeah.
And the feedback was always the same. When they get to the right people, it's always, oh my God, I love the packaging. And they just love it before they even get it.
Yeah.
And then I think it's sometimes, I think when something has kind of cute packaging, you expect the product not to perform very professionally. Because I do think in beauty, you either pick like a cute product or a professional product in quite minimal packaging. So that was kind of my main thing coming up with everything, was it has to look kind of cute, but still really like chic and expensive. It can't look cheap, but it has to have a kind of playful element to it. So I just sent it to like 20 people, and then people that follow them, other influencers, might write to me and ask to be on the PR list. So then I might send them some, and that's all I did at the start. The launch was just sending PR, and just growing really organically.
So
competitions are really good to grow.
Oh my God, people love free. Still to this day, they love free stuff.
It baffles me.
Absolutely insane. I'm like, wow. But my only worry with beauty, it's a little bit different. But say me and Jen were doing a competition for, I don't know,
show tickets or something.
Yeah, show tickets. Like, that's grand because the people that want to go to the show will obviously enter it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if it's like me and Jen are giving away
a tray of Diet Coke to get more followers.
Or like even something bigger, do you know what I mean? Me and you have been gifted like a fucking garden furniture suite.
Yeah.
You've just got all these random, like, honestly, you've just got all these random people on our page now that aren't going to listen to the podcast, don't really understand. Like, there's volume and there's value. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, that's great, you've all these followers, but do any of them care?
Yeah. And people know if something's like authentic.
Yeah.
Like if I was given if I did a collab with like garden furniture, they know it's not. They know it's just like we want exposure.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it would.
It would be fabulous.
But I think people just know when it's not genuine.
Yeah.
And you're called out on it straight away now.
Oh, I know.
The comments just tear them apart.
I remember I was asked by a friend of mine, he owns a business, and he's like, say, I don't want to say who it is or what it is, but say like he's in like construction or whatever, and he knows a mate who was doing like he was in a completely different, it was like, we'll say dog grooming or something like that, and the children did a collab on a thing, and it was like, if you follow this page, I'll give you a free like piece of furniture that I'm after making or whatever. And he
dog grooming furniture.
He got on top of, he rang me and he was like, oh, can you promote this thing for me? I'll give you whatever. And I was just like,
please no.
I actually called him out on it. I was like, are you fucking stupid? I was like, what has this got to do with that? I was like, listen, Del boy. I says, back out with this fucking now, like whatever. Oh, I gave him awful abuse for it. I was like, they can't, in 2023, you can't be at this shit. Like,
no, you can't.
Like,
no.
It's just, even if you're not you don't have a degree in marketing or whatever, it's common sense. Those followers are going to be nothing for you.
Yeah.
They're going to be nothing for you.
And it's the biggest difference between, say, like an influencer's page, because with them, again, it is just volume. Like, because it's insights, it's metrics, it's eyes. It means they can charge more for their posts. It means that they have, more of something to hone into. Where they run into trouble then is, say, if they're trying to launch a brand, or if they're trying to, if they were one thing, say if they got their following between being a new mum and then just never spoke about it again, or just decided that they didn't want to,
Kind of like me.
Imagine they got their following like that. That would be really weird.
No, my first baby, when I announced that I was pregnant, I got like 3,000 followers or whatever, and I didn't really do any mammy stuff, and they all just kind of fell off the wagon.
Yeah, so they were like, cool, what are we doing here?
Why did you follow me? I just told you I was pregnant. I wasn't trying to get you.
They expect a whole like brand change.
No. Yeah. It's like every day it's going to be like, being a mother is, it's so important. But like, that's where you have to be almost careful as an influencer. Whereas with the brand, I feel like, again, if you were to be doing like things that weren't really that authentic, things that didn't really make sense, just to get a follower growth, so somebody could look and go, oh, Deadly, they've 10,000 followers. Yeah, but how much product are you selling?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm like, if you have 1,000 people that are purchasing product, absolutely, like that's your money, do you know? Versus if you have just 20,000 not bot accounts but inactive accounts just kind of sitting there. I find it like people's perceptions are kind of changing, and I think a lot of brands' perceptions are changing as to like how micro advocacy, like people who are smaller like creators with a really great community around them, can talk really well about the products and kind of use it that way, versus there's still, I think sometimes in Ireland there's still this, why are they getting that?
Yeah.
You're like, well, you know nothing about the metrics of this page, so I don't really have to tell you, Susan. Like, it's tough though, I think, obviously for you as a brand owner to kind of, especially, you know, as I said, like user generated content, that's free. You're just giving it to people and hoping that they create content with it. And it's great because you get to kind of promote it. But then, like, how do you scale? Like, what's the next steps? Like, what's next, shall we say?
Yeah, so I agree with that, definitely. Yeah. And most of my growth that I see on my page, like if I get an influx of followers or a good few orders in a day, it actually always comes from smaller influencers with just really loyal followers.
Who are like, wow, I want that. Yeah.
And their pictures get loads of comments and loads of interaction, where some really big people that I've kind of not worked with, but like that have had my product, like it's great that they use it, but nothing really happened from it. And when you go into their comment sections and stuff, it's not as interactive, I suppose. So I think it's not as much of a community. Which is what I think what people love now, when the influencers writing back to them and they are having that conversation of using products and stuff. Yeah. But what did you ask me again?
So I was like, how do you scale? So obviously you went from, I was like, how do you scale? Like, what's next? So suppose you launched the brand, started off kind of, you know, PR list, all that other kind of stuff. How do you go from where you were to like being featured in Vogue?
So so I was launched about, it's only about 2 months, and the Irish Times did a piece on like 50 people to watch in 2023.
You were like, oh.
I was like, what, me?
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I was lucky. I got in that. So there was like all different categories, and then there was like fashion and beauty was one, and there was like 5 of us, and the other 4 people were in fashion. Wow. So I was the only person that got put into it for beauty.
I love that they were like, we need someone for beauty. This is all about you.
Yeah, you can do it. So that got me a lot of attention because I was online and I was in the physical paper as well. Yeah. Wow. So then different people from different Irish magazines were kind of reaching out to me and saying like, oh, I'm a beauty editor, I'd love to try your product. And then they were putting me in like Irish Tatler and different things like that. And that got me a lot of coverage. Ireland's really good to launch in because it's so small and compact.
Small, you can really get like,
and even influencers there. Like most people in, like, say in different sectors like beauty, most makeup artists, influencers know of each other or are friends with each other. Yeah. It's not like there's absolutely millions. You can get eyes on your brand and the same eyes quite quick. Yeah. So that was great for kind of coverage. And then I got in with a retailer that is in Paris and Madrid. It's called Lancôme, and it's like it's an online retailer, but it'll be really high end.
So how did you get in with them? When you say I got in with them, like what do you mean?
So when I started off, every single day, I would say I wrote to 100.
Flat out.
Yeah, I'd be like, here's my brand, I'd love to be in your retail. So this particular place got back to me, and then it was great because they're only online, they don't have a physical store, so they invest a lot in their online marketing. So all of a sudden my products were like popping up on YouTube ads and stuff like that, you know, like in the middle when it might show a few products and you can click on the link. So that was great. And then as they were doing that, I taught myself how to do the Facebook ads and stuff. So then I started doing that myself. The next phase for me is getting in more physical stores. Yeah. Because one of the main things is I really love your products, but I don't know which one to wear. Because, you know, like, it's so, even taking a picture of the product itself is really hard. Sometimes a pink can look orange, and sometimes it can look hot pink, and sometimes it can look really shadowy and dark. So it's really hard to get a true to color picture that isn't only because I have professional pictures, but taking them yourself is really hard. And even when influencers use it in a picture, you don't know exactly kind of, have they put something over it or something under, like what's their natural skin tone like? So all that makes such a big difference. So the next step for me is launching in a Irish retailer, and I'm going to be soon. It's finalized and everything is done. It just hasn't been launched yet, but it's going to be launched I'm hoping in the next month or 2.
Ooh. And it's physical retail.
And it'll be physical retail.
That's exciting.
That's
very
exciting. So that's really big.
Because do you know what it was? I was doing a tour around some retail spaces this week with work, and we went into Hub, and I had a lot of people from the UK with me, and I was trying to kind of explain into Beauty Hub, Planet Beauty in Brown Thomas. And I was like, it's so nice to see that they have Sculpted, they have Cash Beauty, they have pestle and mortar. They have like lots of Irish brands now kind of like dotted around. And I was like, it's so funny because obviously back in the day, like trying to get into Brown Thomas, that's when you were like Charlotte Tilbury big. Do you know what I mean? Like you knew, you were like, oh my God, find me. Whereas now they have this kind of cool, like hub is such an interesting concept to me. Because I'm like, they've new brands, kind of like trending brands, and it's like, it's more of a place to explore. And it's more of a place to spend time versus before I feel like it was real destination shopping. It was like, I'm going into BT's because I want to buy a MAC lipstick. Now it's like, I'm going to go into Hub and just kind of spend a bit of time browsing around. What's this thickening spray? I've never seen this before, you know, and it's like hair care especially. I just find it so interesting because I feel like hair care is such a...
It wasn't accessible at all.
No.
Like the KA jeans, the Olaplexes.
You hadn't a clue.
I was only in there the other day and I was like, oh, I didn't know you could buy this off the shelf. Like, you know.
Yeah, mad. And you're like wandering around, you're like, oh my God, they've like, didn't know Sam McKnight just launched his stuff. And I was like, wow, this is brand new. You know, I was like, so many new things and cool things. And I think that's like, I think that's nice about Irish retail. They kind of taken a little bit of a step back and a step forward. You know, like they've taken a step back from the way that it used to be. And it was you had to be super premium. You had to be immediately, you know. Now you've got all different price points, like the price point of Cash Beauty versus the price point of Pestle and Mortar. Do you get me? Versus, you know, I've got Orbe in there and, you know, just amazing, really top high-end brands, expensive brands versus more accessible kind of trending brands, which I think is really exciting. So I think... if that's the way that Irish retail, like that's just one example, but if that's the way that like Irish retail continues to go, it's really exciting as obviously an Irish beauty brand owner. To be like, they're actually listening. They're starting to like look at these things and go, okay, let's do, you know, let's do a small volume order, but let's try it out. Let's kind of have that conversation. Have you, because I find you've such a strong brand identity, right? But do you find it hard to kind of convey the message that it's like you are one bloke? It's like you're a startup, you know what I mean? Because I feel like yours is so polished that those messages might not connect as easy as say something like Sculpted by Amy. Everyone's like, who's Amy? You know what I mean? Like, or you know, a Cash Beauty was very much that kind of like marketing machine behind Kaylee and all those kind of other things. It was like, do you find it having such a strong brand identity? Do you think you've kind of like traded off on some other things?
100%. So
like I know your name's on it, but you know.
Well, I think the first difference, not the main difference, is when I started it, I wasn't an influencer. I don't do anything like that. It was just a business. Whereas I think people expect now, if you are a small business, that you have a history being an influencer or being something. So and again, even like you said, I find it so weird sometimes because when I write a work email, I'm like, do I say we or me? Like I'm doing, and I always say we because it just sounds more professional. But in the end, I want to be like, by the way, like we is one person. Like I'm on my own. I don't have any help. So I do think, when you go more down like the handmade looking route, people know that you're going to be on your own, and it's a really small business. When you do something manufactured and it looks professional, I do think you don't get people thinking it's me in my apartment with my spare bedroom with 100 boxes of stock, packing them myself, walking down to my UPS drop-off point. Like, you know, every single part of it I do myself. You're like, and
now I'm doing,
But that is the nice thing about social media, because I often make TikToks showing me packing an order or showing me like walking to get a coffee in the morning. And then I did one like where I went to like buy the issue of Vogue I was in and things like that. So I think you can really, on different social media platforms, you can have my Instagram's probably more professional than my TikTok's a little bit more personal.
Day in the life, kind of like actually understanding the guy behind the brand. Because even your emails, you have your own font. Like it's those little details that I'm like, I love. I don't know why I'm like,
Carla loves a font as well.
I love a font. I'm a real font girl. Like just everything about it is so quintessentially you. I just wonder if it's like, oh God, how do you become commercial while also protecting your brand? Well, so it's just me. I'm on my own here. One of my friends always uses the we term as well because she's always like we, and she's like, it just makes me feel less alone. She always says we. She's like, we have been X, we've Y.
I think of changing it sometimes, and I'm like, shut up, because every brand is we. It's always we, even and it just sounds professional, but just it is so me. You know, it's just me.
It's just me, you guys. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about. So you have a collaboration with Craft Cocktails.
Yeah.
So what? Because obviously, alcohol and beauty hand in hand, guys.
Yeah.
It's like furniture and dog grooming.
It's the exact same. But how did that come along? And tell us a little bit more about that and what it is and how it goes.
So I just thought, okay, I can't do another launch for a while because I have zero money to do that.
Yeah.
So I can't launch a whole new range of products. I was like, what could I do? And I was watching And Just Like That. And I love Cosmopolitans. I always love Cosmopolitans. I have a pink blush called Cosmo Flush, inspired by a Cosmo. So I was just sitting watching. It's like I need to think like what's not beauty, because I said I don't want to collaborate with a beauty brand because I want a different audience to see me, but an audience that would still be interested in that. So my mom is an artist, and she actually did all my artwork for the brand, the painting and stuff. It's really cute.
It's so cute.
So she did that, and then for my birthday, she painted. Cause I love Sex and the City, so she painted me a picture from that. It was like Carrie's wardrobe, and another one of like stuff that Carrie had or whatever. So I was like, I could like do something with my mom because she has a few followers as well, and they'd probably be. And then I was like, she always shares my stuff. You know, her followers have seen me. So I was like, okay, well, I have my blush and I have one of her prints if I need to. Like, who else could I collaborate with? And then I just thought of Craft Cocktails, and I sent them an email, and then we just had a phone call, and we were just talking like, what can we do? And they were saying, look, we have a Cosmo, so it doesn't really make sense like making a Cosmo.
Yeah, like a different Cosmo. Yeah.
That's just for you.
Because you like a classic Cosmo. Yeah.
I don't need you don't need to change it. And he's like, it might not make sense. Like, what else could we do? And then we just decided on just a really nice PR launch and a few giveaways. So they said, we'll brand some of the bottles, we'll put your branding on it, we'll send them out to you, and then you can do whatever you want with them to kind of generate a bit of hype. So I just sent them all out together last week. So they're starting to get to people now. Yeah. And yeah, I just felt like it was a really, even on my page, it just looks at home, the Cosmo. Like it's not dog grooming and furniture. You know, it feels, and even besides my brand, it's such like, if you knew me, it's a real, like it's a really good collaboration for me. It's very honest.
I love that. Like that's so, I love the fact that it wasn't like, oh, we just kind of, it was like, no, this is another thing that is so me. You were like, love a Cosmo. It's like me with a mark. You never see me without one. I'm like constantly there. Yeah. Like, line of shakers coming soon. Like, I'll be there, gang. Yeah. But like, there's such a purpose almost behind it, because it's so like, now that you've said it, I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Definitely. I love that Cosmo flush. And it
felt really nice because when I was in lockdown, craft cocktails were a huge part of that for me. Yes. That's kind of I think when I think of them, I just think of lockdown, and they came to the rescue and we didn't have any cocktails at home. Yeah.
Honestly, do you remember, like, that is crazy. So like, just for anybody, craft cocktails. So 1661, which is like, amazing. I'm going to go right ahead and say the best cocktail bar in Ireland. Yeah. Like there is just nothing like it. Everything about it. My cousin works there, but anyway. Oh, really? Even so, yeah, literally. But even before, I didn't even know. I remember I arrived there and I was like, "Ray, what are you doing here?" But it's just an incredible, just a cool community in like you feel like you're part of it. Like it's hard to explain. It's so Irish, but so cool. And like their menu is so curated, and it's just one of those things that, again, strong brand identity. You're all over it. They do poaching tours, like for tourists, which I think is savage. Like through like, you know, it's just cool. And obviously then lockdown happened, so they started craft cocktails from the premise beside them. But craft cocktails is so opposite to the way that they brand themselves in 1661. Because 1661 is like dark, smoky, kind of masculine, cool, like very edgy. Craft cocktails is like bubblegum colours, cool, like bold font. Bold fonts. Yeah, I love a font. But anyway, like bold fonts, really like cute and marketable. And then, as you said, they just came through, because everybody was like, I'd love to not be drinking wine every night. And they're like, don't worry, we've sorted it out. Now we've craft cocktails. Yeah. So it's like a cool, another homegrown Irish business story, and it's like the two of them together just, I think, makes...
It's also a really nice feeling to think like another Irish brand kind of has your back and wants to help you.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know, they were like, oh, we were reading your website and like we have loads of the same beliefs where we work and we would love to support you. So it just feels really nice, because I obviously work from home, I work alone. So you're alone. I'm alone all the time.
No colleagues, essentially.
No. Sometimes like you wouldn't talk like my boyfriend works from home too, but we work in separate rooms and he'd always be on meetings and video calls. So like I can't really be
like, hey,
talking much.
should we go for lunch?
Yeah. So it is nice kind of expanding and even doing stuff like this. It's lovely meeting more people because when I worked in a hair salon, it was people all day long.
Yes.
Oh God, it was one extreme to the other, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't even just like customers. When I was teaching, you could have like 15, 20-year-olds with you all day asking your help and chatting to you, and then they have a customer in, so it's like a client and a student and you, so it's really, really busy. Whereas now it's like just me talking to my UPS drop-off man.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting what you said there, because I had this conversation with someone the other day because they were talking about, like I worked in a beauty hall like years ago and I worked for a while there. And oh my God, all the time, the managers, no chatting. We are hello, we're like makeup and hair artists here. All we do is talking. Speak. All we do is chat shite all day. That's the point. Like that's part of who we are. That's our culture. Yeah. You can't like shove somebody then into like and be like, no, we need to be professional here. What do you? People are walking in going, oh, the girlies. Yeah, exactly. Because talking is the least professional, unless it's somebody who might be buying a product. Yeah. Just really weird, and it's like such a different kind of. And it makes
people look in, especially in that environment. I would be thinking, oh no, very unapproachable. Don't go near. Just avoid. Walk past.
Because the minute you walk over, it's going to be like, hey, what are you? just having a look, Yeah. But and it's this real kind of like mammy where it's like, when I mentioned the girls were all talking to each other, so I said I'm going to turn around, walk straight back out the door. It's like, that's just not how people are anymore. It's like social community. Like people want to think that like everyone's talking about beauty to each other, and like what are those conversations? Definitely not about the session that they're on last night. Maybe they're talking about a new launch, sure, something that might help me. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that you said like in hair, that's all you're doing. You're literally like talking to customers all day. You go from that to being like, I'm a solo star. I am a brand owner. Have to do everything myself. So what's next? What's the next thing, I suppose, for you?
So at the moment, I am working on 3 new products, which are kind of an extension. They're not blush, but they're like kind of within
colour
that family.
Yeah. Colour kind of covers everything. So
it's colours. Yeah, so it's within that. So obviously, then launching in a retailer, and then it's going to be I really want to just get out there more, meeting people, going into stores, talking to people, teaching them about the brand, teaching them how to use the products and stuff like that. So just kind of getting out there more. I think the first year I'm really impatient. So like I just want stuff to happen yesterday. I want things to happen really quick. Whereas now things are actually starting to happen a lot faster. So it's great. So getting into retailers. I mean, every day is just like I have a different task of things I want to do, and you never know. Like the other week I got up and I had X, Y, and Z to do, and then just my Instagram shop broke. So I took 2 days fixing that. Then you have like 2 days where you're not posting, you're not really talking to people as much. So then those things happen. There's nothing you can do. You're just trying every day. But I always think of like the big picture as in I want to be huge. But you have to just think of like little things every day to get you there. Yeah. So at the moment, it's getting into a really nice retailer in Ireland.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's
going to be mad to look back in like 5 years and go, Jesus, do you remember I was telling the girls on that podcast, like I had a few blushes out. Yeah. Look, like, you know what I mean? I can see that kind of happening.
It's like, I just think it's really exciting, isn't it? Like so to be you, obviously, at this point, and like seeing it grow and getting to talk to, as he said, come over and like you reached out to us and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, let's have a chat. Like, let's talk about it. Because I feel like there is that real, like in Ireland, we only want to buy Irish brands, but we want to begrudge everybody who has an Irish brand.
I know.
That's so weird.
It's like a weird balance. You have to like have a nice brand, but like don't be cocky about it.
Yeah, oh no.
And it is hard. But like you said, I think once you get out there yourself and talk, and people can actually hear you talking yourself, and they're not just reading a paragraph on your website, or they're not just seeing like a little clip here and there. When people can hear you and hear your message, I think it does resonate with them, and you'll attract the right people then. Yeah. The kind of customers that you envision.
You want to create your community with.
It's those people who they don't want to just scroll on by. If you're actually interested, then cool. This message for you.
You're like, perfect. I seem to have got you. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's been lovely. It's been lovely chatting.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet you and get to talk.
Great chat. Love learning everything that we absolutely can about it.
Yeah, and I hope you love your products.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't wait to like. I was like, I actually we record very early, so we did a couple of episodes before here, but I was like, I can't wait to now I'll do my face and actually sit down and be able to use it, put my cocktail in the fridge and have a ball, have an absolute ball.
Where can we find you on social media? I'll link everything down below.
So it's Lukey Beauty on TikTok, on Instagram, and then my website is lukeylukey.com. So no beauty in the website. Just lukeylukey.com.
Just Lukey.
Yeah, and then
do merch.
Yeah. And then
Do
my
tote bags,
Facebook
please.
is just Lukey. I think I'm not sure. I don't really use my Facebook very much.
Yeah,
It's mad. It's such a different demographic.
It's mad, isn't it?
But you need it apparently. Like nothing will perform unless you have
But
it.
they're all linked up now. They all are owned by Meta. So like all your advertisement and stuff is done through Facebook. Even though my ads only show on Instagram, you have to like set them up through Facebook, which is
it's
so random.
yeah. I'm not thinking about that today.
I know.
That's another day.
That's another. We'll talk about that another time. Perfect.
Another day and another time. Lukey, thanks again. It's been
you so
lovely
much.
chatting to you, and we wish you all the best for the future. We'll probably have you on.
Again. Let's talk
a
about
year or two, and be
Yeah.
like, where are you now?
Yeah.
Where are you now?
No, let's talk about scaling and growth.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about digital marketing plans.
Oh, amazing.
So thanks a million for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.